We're here with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and my thoughts on the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, your old pal Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Ruiner. This is a cyberpunk-styled top-down action game, which is something you probably heard a million times now from like a zillion indie games. But if you can't already tell, Ruiner is something completely different and looks damn near incredible, but I was worried this game would be style over substance, but thankfully it's not. It does have a bit more style than substance though, if that makes sense, but I'll get to that in a bit. The way Ruiner is set up, you enter a gritty cyber-futuristic world of Rencock in 2091 as a silent masked man whose brain has been hacked. He has like this mysterious hacker woman in his head guiding him to save his kidnapped brother, and that's really it. The name of the game here is Killing. You're probably gonna see the game compared to Hotline Miami, and that's fair, but it's a little different. First of all, it can be played competently on a controller, but I absolutely recommend playing keyboard and mouse if you can. Oh my god. Most of my gameplay here is a controller, but when I did eventually switch to a keyboard, it was a good improvement. But the combat here is focused around short bursts of fast-paced, violent runs. You have a melee attack and a gun, and you can pick up more that have like durability or limited ammo. And if it isn't obvious, you can die really quickly. You're not one-shot killed like other games, but you have a health bar that can deplete in like a second. More so than similar games of this style, here it's all about positioning and using the right abilities. You have a handful of dashes to spend, as well as like a slow-mo blink version of a dash, and these are totally vital to like moving around and killing as fast as possible. One thing I am not really a fan of though is that you can take damage while dashing. I always kind of think that's bullshit as a design choice, but that's really up to personal taste. You can lessen the amount of damage you get through dashing through upgrades with a skill tree upgrade system that I really like. There's a nice amount of upgrades to work towards, including strengthening your shield, a healing mechanic, grenades, and all stuff that depletes this energy meter, but it just gives you something good to save up karma or the game's in-game points and really work towards making your character stronger. It's laid out nicely, it's good to see at face value, and the game handles it pretty interestingly enough. But the game itself, it's just really fun and incredibly challenging. The game has multiple difficulty modes, and even normal mode can be really brutal because it's just the style of the game. Near instant respawns give you that like addictive rush of, oh, just one more run, you know? Enemies are really fast and really powerful, but unfortunately, after the first two stages, you've kind of really seen them all. They just have different skins. But thankfully, I think the bosses make up for them. There's some really good little boss encounters that are rough and fun. But I will say the same kind of goes for the levels. Most of them just look the same, like dark red secret laboratories and factories. But I will say that even though the style is the same and they do get a little repetitive, at least they all look damn good with like little different little hidden spots here and there. To the point where it's actually kind of a shame because the game is so fast-paced. There are times where you really want to just stop and smell the roses and look around, but the game doesn't really give you too much of a reason to do so. But what you get is 14 fairly long levels to play through. Structurally, most levels play out pretty linear where you just walk through a corridor and then walk into an open arena area and take out waves of enemies. And while the encounters are structured the same, I think there's enough variety in weapon pickups to make things really crazy. You know, like you pick up different types of katanas, flaming weapons, ricocheting rockets, machine guns, flamethrowers, and shotguns, and it all makes the action on screen really chaotic, and it all keeps up, and it's just satisfying. But between the levels filled with killing, you pop into the overworld of the city of Rencock, and it's really damn incredible and intricate. It's lovingly designed. Like, streets are littered with people, shops, streetcars, grime, graffiti, back alley brawls, pulsing clubs, but honestly, it's all just kind of window dressing. You get some side missions and some objectives and spots, and you can get some pretty quirky NPC dialogue, especially with some really good character art that is really awesome to look at, but honestly, that's about it. As cool as Rencock is, it really feels like mostly just useless fodder. I do appreciate it, but the game doesn't give me tons of reasons to really care. That makes the experience feel a bit uneven sometimes. It's not a perfect game though, but it is a fun one, I'll say that. I just don't know how memorable it'll be in the long run. But while the gameplay may not be, the style is memorable. In a game that on paper, like I said, sounds so typical, the game's flashes of like static and neon red and Chinese font and edginess and all that stuff is really unlike stuff you've seen in a game. I love experiencing this game, like from the fantastic synth music to the dark neon graphics to the actual transitions and menus and interfaces. Ruiner just stands out the most here. The game looks so cool that it almost actually increases the replayability for me. The game will take you like 6 to 7 hours depending on how much you suck, and while the end story isn't really fulfilling, going back and playing levels again as like a power level characters feels really awesome. And seeing the cutscenes and character art all over again, I think is totally worth it. Like I said, it's not the longest game, but you get multiple difficulty modes, it's challenging, and it's not a full-priced game. But I do think the difficulty and the general experience is worth checking it out. I will say if you like Hotline Miami or maybe even Housemarque's most recent games, you should check out Ruiner. But that's how I'm feeling on it. You know how before you buy works, I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, but now I absolutely want to hear yours. This game dropped today. If some of you guys picked it up, maybe you played through it aggressively, I want to know what you're thinking. If you haven't picked it up, maybe you're on the outside looking in, I want to know how you're feeling. Do you like the style? Do you think it's overdone? Are you sick of this look? Because I think Ruiner does enough to stand out from the crowd, but I want to hear from you guys. So let's talk about the game down in the comments. I'll be down there as much as possible, but if you got anything else for me, you know where to find me. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino. You know, clicking the like button too helps us out. Really appreciate it. We get to do more before you buys because of that, and if you haven't subscribed, we put out stuff like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.